Hi, friends. So by now you probably saw the rose vestments. The rose vestments. So I'm sure you know what that means, right? It's a time of rejoicing. We're almost done with our Lenten journey, folks. You should be proud of yourselves if you made it this far. Congratulations. But on a serious note, as we look at the year C with the reflections, we hear I usually refer to now as Latare, but I believe it is also prodigal son Sunday. And what I really enjoy about the the passage of the prodigal son, which is taken from Luke, is that Jesus is teaching us once more that God is a kind and understanding Father because his mercy never goes away. Even St. John Paul the Great said in Dives in Misericordiae that although the word mercy does not appear, the parable of the prodigal son nevertheless expresses the essence of the divine mercy in a particular clear way. Now, when we look at this gospel here, we are reminded that Jesus uses this parable to teach a very conveying lesson, that no one is far from God's mercy. No one at all. St. Louis put it well when he wrote, "The hardness of God is kinder than the softness of men, and his compassion is our liberation." What C.S. Lewis is telling us is that God's compassion can free us from everything in the world. He loves us because we were his children first. He knit us in the womb, as the prophet Jeremiah reminded us in the first chapter of the book. And we are in need of God's mercy. And one of the things that we see in this passage that we notice that the older son's like, "Hey, I did everything for you, and also you want to throw a feast for my brother who squandered everything?" The father response is, "He was once lost, but now he was found." You see, my friends, we are surrounded by prodigal children in our lives. It's in your own home. It's a relative who received the sacraments and initiation and said, "Oh, I'm done." And the average age of people who stop becoming Catholic is the age of 13. That needs to stop. You see, my friends, we are searching for God's mercy. And his mercy is inexhaustible. And he even poured out his mercy to everyone when he hung on the cross on Good Friday. Without mercy, there can be no compassion. Without mercy, we don't learn to love the person for who they are in the eye of God. Without mercy, we can never find the cure for those who live in misery. So, my friends, are you surrounded by prodigal people in your lives? And let's face it, we do. Because 80% of Catholics don't go to Mass every Sunday. They'd rather go on Easter and Christmas or whenever they feel like. Or even at times of despair, such as when their loved ones are close to death. I also say in this message to those of you who have fallen away from the faith, come home. Come home to the one holy Catholic and apostolic faith. God is waiting for you, and he wants to throw a banquet for you. His love is ever present. It has never left you. I always think of that scene from probably one of the worst Star Wars movies ever made. Because let's face it, all the Disney ones they made with the new trilogy, they all stink. But I think there's some good things we could take away from it. In particular, in The Last Jedi, there was a scene before Luke pays the ultimate sacrifice. If I'm giving spoilers, just skip ahead. But Luke distracts Kylo Ren so the rebels, the resistance can escape. But before that, he confronts his sister. And of course, he had because he kicked off an apology tour. And the next thing you know, he said, "No one is ever lost." And I think we see that clearly. In the gospel passage for this Sunday. Is that the prodigal son, he may have been lost, but he was going to be found. And how he was found? It was through God's mercy. St. John Paul the Great even continues, saying, "Mercy, as Christ has presented it in the parable of the prodigal son, has the interior form of the love that in the New Testament is called agape. This love is able to reach down to every prodigal son, to every human misery, and above all, to every form of moral misery, to sin. When this happens, the person who is the object of mercy does not feel humiliated, but rather found again and restored to value. The Father, first and foremost, expresses to him his joy that he has been found again and that he has returned to life. Those who have fallen away from the Catholic faith, they're dead. But the moment that they are found, they're returned to life. Similar to I haven't really seen a lot of this, but I remember a story of someone that I dated once. She told me how she saved a drowning victim. She was a lifeguard. And there's like something, it's like one thing you watch like on the TV shows when medical professionals, they try to revive someone that slipped in cardiac arrest, or someone saves someone from drowning, wherever the case is. There's something about that moment where they put all their effort in giving someone that is lifeless new life. Especially when they do the whole CPR thing and things like that. But let's face it, God is willing to give you CPR in your faith life. So, those of you who are watching this that have fallen away, I once again invite you to come home. Come home, the Catholic faith. To every death, there is a resurrection. You may have put your faith in a tomb, but I can assure you, it will be risen. Just as we welcome this fourth Sunday of Lent with so much joy, the Father rejoiced when his Son returned. And those of you that are looking for a reason to come back to the faith, this is your chance. St. John Paul the Great continues, "This joy indicates a good that has remained intact. Even if he is a prodigal, a son does not cease to be truly his father's son. It also indicates a good that has been found again, which in the case of the prodigal son was his return to the truth about himself." Too many of times we have Catholics that fall away because they don't agree with the teachings. They want to experience life. They just think, you know what, I don't need faith. But there will be just that moment that would make them return. And the church welcomes them back with open arms. Are you one of those people that have fallen away because of silly reasons? Why else do you think there are rules and regulations in sports? And there are times like we get up and boo or we cheer, if the call was right or wrong. That is why rules exist. They're supposed to ground us. as well as the teachings of the church, supposed to ground us and lead us to our ultimate goal in life, and that is heaven. So, my friends, you were once lost, but you will soon be found through the mercy of God. Never stop seeking it. And once again, those of you that have fallen away, this is your invitation to come home. Come back to your roots. Return to the one holy Catholic and Apostolic faith. And I will promise you, you will find insurmountable joy when you return home to Rome. I was once lost, but now I am found, because my identity is in Jesus. I leave you with one final quote from C.S. Lewis. You must picture me alone in that room at Magdalene, night after night, feeling, whenever mind left even for a second form for my work, the steady, unrelenting approaching of him, of whom I so earnestly desired not to meet. The prodigal son at least walked home on his own feet, but who can dully adore that love which will open the high gates to a prodigal who is brought in kicking, struggling, resentful, and darting his eyes in every direction for a chance of escape? The hardness of God is kinder than the softness of men, and his compassion is our liberation. God reaches out to these human beings who are lost in order for them to draw them back into the fire of divine love. Without mercy, we can never know love. Let us share mercy towards others. Let us be merciful to those who have sinned against us, to those who have ridiculed us, mocked us for our faithful witness. But most importantly, let us show mercy for those who are lost and need to be found. May God bless you. Rejoice. Our Lenten journey will soon be over.